Hello there, you're watching All 24 News World News Program. To the headlines. In Gaza, over 100 martyred in massacres targeting the starving and displaced. Bankfir and thousands of settlers storm Al-Aqsa compound, sparking Arab and Islamic outrage. Also in news, Egypt hails historic ties with Algeria. Khartoum thanks Algiers for backing Sudan through crisis. And Algerian army chief vows to defend the country's sovereignty with full force. Coming up as well, Sahrawi government stands by UN AUP's plan. Makhzen's risky alliances draw fire as tensions mount over occupation and attempts to bypass global legitimacy. And later on in Libya, UN pushes for realistic peace plan, urges return of displaced. Presidential Council warns of collapse without serious global action. This and more shortly. Welcome back to the program. Great to have you with us tonight. In Gaza, rescue teams have found the bodies of 22 Palestinians killed in earlier Zionist airstrikes. The attacks hit homes and schools where displaced families were staying, especially in areas like Tufah, Shujai and Zaytun neighborhoods. Many others were hurt across Gaza Strip. In Khan Younis, airstrike on Faisal School killed 3 people, including a woman. Also, a young girl died from injuries she got in an earlier bombing on Al-Burij camp. Similarly, occupation troops shot at crowds near several aid distribution centers across Gaza Strip, killing and injuring many people. Medical sources say at least 24 people were killed near 8 centers in Rafah and Khan Younis. In central Gaza, 9 more were killed near the Netzarim crossing. Meanwhile, the Shifa hospital reported 9 others dead in the north, all attacked while simply trying to get food for families. Meanwhile, Gaza's hospitals reported 9 more deaths from starvation in just the last 24 hours. The Palestinian Health Ministry says at least 175 people, including 93 children, have now died from famine. At the same time, Palestinians are pleading with countries to send aid through land crossings instead of risky airdrops. Many say aid falling from planes is unreliable and dangerous. The call came after another airdrop over central Gaza on Sunday.
We call on all our brothers to increase the quantities and to use another way, which is the borders. The borders are safer and there is fair distribution, not like this distribution. Honestly, unfortunately, I'm saying this way we're living with jungle law.
I throw myself into danger to bring food to my children. We hope the world ensures a fair distribution mechanism, especially UNRWA and the international organizations. Aid should be delivered through text messages so that everyone in need gets their share. Only few people benefit. It's so unjust.
In international reactions on the situation in the Strip, Philip Lazzarini, the head of the UN's aid agency for Palestinians, says Israel has been blocking UNRWA's work for 5 months, punishing civilians just for staying in Gaza. In a post on social media, he warned that this political blockade has deepened famine, leading to around 1,400 deaths. Lazzarini also criticized the current aid system, calling it politically driven and warning that some are trying to shut down UNRWA entirely, erasing Gaza's lifeline for food and medicine. Months of blockade and disrupted aid have pushed Gaza's children to the brink. Malnutrition is spreading fast, hitting the most vulnerable, the injured, the disabled, and now even the healthy. Zara Farjana reports.
The ongoing Zionist war on Gaza has evolved into a campaign not only of bombs and bullets, but of deliberate starvation that's stalking the most vulnerable first. In some tents and shelters in northern Gaza, emaciated children are held in their parents' arms. Their tiny bodies dangle limp, their shoulder blades and ribs stick out from skeletal figures, slowly consuming themselves for lack of food.
دول الأطفال لهم طريقة معينة في تناول الأكل، لهم أغذية خاصة.
These children have special feeding needs. Now, there is no baby formula, diapers, and I can hardly find flour for them. Before the war, their health was excellent. They were provided with special meals. Now, nothing is available.
Since the beginning of the war, children like Yusuf and Amir are wasting away, slowly and painfully, as food and necessary medical supplies disappear.
تدهورت صحتهم بشكل كبير.
Their health has deteriorated severely, and they are suffering from severe malnutrition. I cannot meet any of their needs.
Meanwhile, at friend of the patient hospital in Gaza City, Houday and Mohammed, who suffer from a genetic nerve disorder, are also battling hunger.
بعاني يعني إنهم صعب كل شوي بدهم حليب.
I suffer from their constant need for formula, their constant need for diaper changes, and their constant diarrhea, but nothing is available. They cry all night. I can't help them.
In war-ravaged Gaza, doctors are overwhelmed. Supplies have dried up. Even children with no prior conditions are now dying of starvation.
ما في مكملات كافية.
There are not enough nutritional supplements, so the children are malnourished. We have some children that we keep in the hospital to observe due to extreme malnutrition and lack of nutritional supplements.
This is not a famine caused by drought or disaster. This is a man-made, a direct result of a Zionist war machine using starvation as a weapon. The world watches in silence, while in Gaza, children are not just dying, they are being starved to death.
Elsewhere in occupied Palestine, more than 3,000 Zionist settlers led by far-right Zionist minister Itamar Ben-Gvir stormed Al-Aqsa mosque compound on Sunday, performing Talmudic rituals and engaging in provocative acts. The Islamic Endowments Department in occupied Al-Quds confirmed the act and strongly condemned the violation of the mosque's sanctity. On the same note, Arab and Islamic condemnations poured in after extremist Itamar Ben-Gvir and some 3,000 settlers stormed Al-Aqsa Mosque in occupied East Al-Quds. The Arab League and the Islamic or the Organization of Islamic Cooperation labeled the act a dangerous provocation, warning it threatens regional stability. Saudi Arabia and Jordan also issued strong condemnations, calling for urgent international action to halt such repeated violations of international law. Turning to other international reactions, in a powerful show of solidarity, thousands of protesters marched across Sydney's iconic Harbour Bridge on Sunday, braving heavy rain for a March for Humanity. The demonstration condemned the genocidal Zionist war on Gaza, with many carrying cooking pots and signs denouncing the occupation's deliberate use of starvation as a weapon of war against Palestinians in the besieged territory.
Hey, it's the greatest injustice in the world. Babies are being killed. For what? Because they were inefficient, they couldn't protect their borders. That's why they are punishing the whole world now, especially the Palestinians. Go Palestinians, we are with you.
I've had a lot of medical issues over the last couple of years, including mobility. And in Australia, I've had the human right and the privilege to have good medical care. The people in Palestine are having their hospitals bombed. They're being denied a basic right of medical care. And I'm marching specifically for that.
In another development in North America, Canadian Foreign Minister Anita Anand has announced that Canada will not authorize any military equipment exports to the Zionist entity that could be used in Gaza Strip. The government has enforced a suspension of all related permits since January 2024. According to a policy update posted on the government's website, the freeze applies to both new and existing approvals, effectively blocking any weapons transfers that might fuel the ongoing genocide. Elsewhere in the Middle East, Syria's Interior Ministry reported on Sunday that armed groups breached the truce in Suwaida, launching attacks on security forces and causing casualties. The ministry condemned what it described as a treacherous assaults aimed at destabilizing the governorate, while reaffirming the government's commitment to restoring order and maintaining stability in the region. To some national developments now. President Abdelmajid Tebboune received outgoing Egyptian Ambassador Mukhtar Jamil Tawfiq Bourida for a farewell visit. The meeting, also attended by Presidential Diplomatic Advisor Ammar Habba, underscored the strength of Algerian-Egyptian relations. The ambassador described the ties as strategic and praised the high level of coordination between the two countries on both regional and international issues.
أعربت أيضا فخامة الرئيس تبون عن اعتزازي الكبير.
I also conveyed to His Excellency President Tebboune my deep pride in having served as Egypt's ambassador to Algeria. I express my heartfelt gratitude for his noble sentiments toward Egypt and its people. I also extend my sincere thanks to the Algerian government for outstanding cooperation and genuine support I witnessed throughout my tenure. Efforts have further strengthened strategic and historically unique ties between our two nations.
Still with the president's activities, Algerian head of state Abdelmajid Tebboune separately received Sweden's ambassador Björn Hagmark and Switzerland ambassador Pierre-Yves Fuchs during their farewell visits on Sunday. Both meetings were attended by Presidential Diplomatic Advisor Ammar Habba and other Algerian officials, according to a statement released by the Algerian presidency. Continuing with presidential engagements, President Abdelmajid Tebboune also met with Sudan's ambassador Nadia Mohammed Khir Osman during her farewell visit. Presidential Diplomatic Advisor Ammar Habba was present at the meeting. The Sudanese envoy expressed her gratitude to Algeria for its consistent support to Sudan across regional and international forums, particularly during the country's ongoing challenges.
ولقد نقلت لفخامة السيد الرئيس تحيات شقيقه فخامة
I convey to His Excellency the President of the Republic the greetings of his brother, His Excellency the Chairman of the Transitional Sovereignty Council, Lieutenant General Abdel Fattah al-Burhan, and the appreciation of Sudan, its leadership and people for the supportive and helpful stances of our sister country Algeria in confronting the current challenges through regional and international platforms. These are genuine stances that express the noble values and heritage that characterize the great Algerian people.
Marking National People's Army Day, Algeria Army General Said Chingriha, Chief of Staff of the National People's Army, reaffirmed the military's unwavering commitment to safeguarding Algeria's independence and territorial integrity. In a message addressed to all personnel, Chingriha pledged that the army remains fully mobilized and ready to confront any threats to national unity.
The destiny of an independent, secure and stable Algeria, guided by sovereign decisions, lies in the hands of its all loyal sons and daughters. The People's National Army will always remain vigilant, mobilizing all its strength, energy, resources and capabilities to safeguard the achievements of independence and national sovereignty. It will stay true to the internal values of November, firmly committed to the unity of the people and the territorial integrity of the nation, despite schemes of our enemies. This reflects the highest expression of our determination and resolve as guardians of the homeland, whose sole mission is the glory and advancement of eternal Algeria.
In energy news, Algeria clinched 2 of the world's top 5 oil deals last month under its new hydrocarbons law, securing nearly $2 billion in investments from international energy firms. Algeria topped July's global rankings by finalizing the first and second largest contracts in the sector. Here's Yasin Erkti with more.
Algeria marks a milestone in the energy sector, leading the list of the most important contracts in the industry in the world, a clear sign of the growing interest this North African country is generating among major international players. This surge in attention is largely driven by the new hydrocarbons law, which offers a more attractive and competitive legal framework for investors. As a result, Algerian authorities have successfully signed major investment agreements with foreign energy companies. A total of 5 development contracts were concluded with 8 international firms as part of a global licensing round valued at over $606 million, aimed at exploiting reserves estimated at 700 billion cubic meters of gas and 560 million barrels of oil. Among the standout deals in the Zamoul Al-Kbar project, a strategic partnership between Algeria's Sonatrach and Italy's Eni. The renewed contract includes hydrocarbon exploration and exploitation, backed by a joint investment exceeding $1.35 billion. More than just financial figures, these agreements reflect Algeria's growing capacity to attract international investors, strengthen its competitiveness in global energy markets, and consolidate its role in the hydrocarbon sector amid increasingly fierce global energy competition.
Turning to Western Sahara, during the Polisario Front's 13th Summer University, Sahrawi Prime Minister Boushra Hamoudi Bayoun reaffirmed the Sahrawi people's commitment to a UN African Union mediated solution. Bayoun expressed the Polisario Front's readiness to resume UN-sponsored negotiations with Morocco, stressing that any resolution must respect international legitimacy and existing UN resolutions.
The Popular Front of the Liberation of Sagi al-Hamra and Rio de Oro and the government of the Sahrawi Arab Democratic Republic considered that the consensual and agreed-upon solution was signed between the Front and Morocco in 1991 under the supervision of the United Nations and the Organization of African Unity. Under that agreement, the UN Security Council established the United Nations mission for the referendum in Western Sahara, MINURSO. Furthermore, the government of the Sahrawi Republic and the Polisario Front affirm that the only solution that preserves the dignity of all parties with no winners or losers is a democratic solution in accordance with international law, which recognizes the Sahrawi people's right to self-determination and independence and does not recognize Morocco's sovereignty over Western Sahara.
On the same occasion, the Sahrawi Prime Minister condemned Morocco's use of Zionist military technology to maintain its control of Western Sahara, warning against what he called Rabat's dangerous alliances enabling violence against Sahrawis.
This conference, in the light of the deep international and regional changes, is taking place in the corridors of the Sahrawi people's struggle for freedom and employment. I would like to remind the members of the Parliament of the difference between the international consensus and the recommendations of the United Nations mission for the referendum in Western Sahara, MINURSO.
Still on the Western Sahara file, Said Layeshi, head of Algeria's National Committee for Solidarity with the Sahrawi people, accused Morocco of systematically undermining the Sahrawi right to self-determination. He also criticized certain UN Security Council members for what he called their complicity and condemned the United Nations' failure to enforce a long-promised referendum, calling it a violation of international law.
Firstly, what is stated by international law regarding the Western Sahara conflict has not been concretely implemented on the ground. The referendum on self-determination has neither been organized nor held at all. Due to the inaction of the United Nations and the procrastination of the Security Council, this reveals a second layer of injustice. Some permanent members of the Security Council are inclined to support the autonomy proposal put forward by Morocco as a solution to the conflict, an option that entirely disregards the clear provisions of international law, namely the right to self-determination for the Sahrawi people. These permanent members are attempting to circumvent international law in order to support a solution that lacks legal legitimacy.
Elsewhere in Africa, the United Nations has reaffirmed its commitment to a comprehensive and realistic approach to resolving the ongoing crisis in Libya. UN SMEL Chief Hannah Tete underscored the mission's efforts to finalize a political roadmap aimed at achieving a lasting solution, while also commending Italy's continued support. The UN further stressed the importance of ensuring the return of displaced persons to foster national reconciliation. Deputy Special Representative Stephanie Corey, during talks with local leaders, highlighted ongoing efforts to facilitate returns to the southern town of Mersa. To southern Africa now, in Lesotho, the country's vital textile industry remains under pressure despite recent U.S. tariff relief. Fierce global competition continues to threaten thousands of jobs, raising alarm bells in one of the country's largest employers. Salman Nassib has more.
In Lesotho, the textile sector no longer stands a chance of competing. The 15% reduction in U.S. custom duties under the Trump administration wasn't enough. The industry is still struggling to remain competitive. The threat is clear. At stake are thousands of direct and indirect jobs in a country already severely affected by unemployment.
We have close to 12,000 jobs that are directly on the firing line because of this tariff. But there's an additional 40,000 that depends on this 12,000.
Despite a reduction in American tariffs, lower to 15% from the original 50%, the threat is already impacting the economy of this small, landlocked kingdom in southern Africa. In the streets of Masiro, vendors are already worried about the tangible effects of their daily lives.
Yes, I will be badly affected, because Trump's tariff will also impact the prices of my products. I'll have to raise my prices, and customers will stop coming because they won't be able to afford my goods.
I wish there was something for us like job opportunities so we could fulfill our dreams and goals instead of staying at home because most people are unemployed.
A warning sign of this small and locked kingdom. Faced with this critical situation, some textile factories are beginning to seek new markets. Meanwhile, the government is still hoping for a gesture from Washington, but for the workers, the urgency is already here.
Let's catch up on more international news stories in the News in Brief with Sofian Kantari.
The Sudanese army says it repelled 226 RSF attacks in Al-Fashir over the 48 hours, with heavy losses inflicted in coordination with allied armed movements. Remaining RSF fighters reportedly fled the city. In northwest Nigeria, over 50 people were abducted last week in a mass kidnapping, according to UN-affiliated conflict monitor. Armed bandits attacked the village of Sabongari in Damri, in Zamfara state on Friday. The latest in a series raids in the region ended by ransom kidnappings, looting, and extortion. France's Yellow Vest movement has called for major protests in Paris amid growing social unrest and worsening economic conditions. Through its website, the movement urged strong participation in the demonstrations set for early September, opposing Prime Minister François Bayroul's recently announced austerity plan. Russia's defense ministry announced Sunday it targeted the infrastructure of a military airfield and a long-range drone launch sites in Ukraine. The strikes, carried out by operational aviation and attack drones, reportedly damaged drone factories, storage facilities, and fuel stations used by Ukrainian forces across multiple locations. Brazil's President Lula Inácio da Silva said his country is preparing a response to what he called unfair US tariffs, stressing efforts to protect the national economy, business, and workers.
And that's the end of our news program for tonight. For more updates, you can always check our social media platforms as well as our website. I'm Islam Sid signing off. See you next time.